Nutritional strategies for the holiday season is what we're going to be chatting about in this video today. With the holiday season coming up, and whether you celebrate Christmas or not, there's going to be a lot of food and there's going to be a lot of friends and family, a lot of downtime, snacking around, hanging out, maybe drinking, maybe not, depending on what you do. But this video is just to give you some guidelines on how to operate or how to run your calories or your diet the best if you really want to focus on maintaining the best shape possible. Now, if you just want to YOLO Christmas and just eat whatever you want, drink whatever you want, and just take it on the chin, that's completely fine. You might be 5 kilos heavier at the end of a couple of weeks, whatever, you can deal with it next year. That's one completely viable strategy if you want to focus on that later on. But this is more for the person that wants to maintain what they have throughout, maybe even progress a little, maybe still get stronger, maybe get a little leaner. So let's chat about how to operate your diet over this time. Now, the first thing I want to talk about is your strategy within the meal. So when you sit down and you're eating, whether it's a big meal like Christmas lunch, Christmas dinner, or you're just having a breakfast throughout the holiday period, these are the first things that I want you to focus on. Number one is protein. So I want protein to be like the center point of your diet on your plate. So if you're going to sit down and eat any meal, let's say it's breakfast, what are you having for protein, right? A chocolate croissant is not a breakfast, right? That's just gluttony. There's no protein in that. You can have it for breakfast, whatever, but I would rather you have a 3-egg omelet with a couple of extra egg whites beforehand, just so that you're hitting protein to maintain your muscle mass, to help you recover if you're training, to help keep you full throughout the day. It may not be eggs, it may be leftover Christmas ham, but make sure that on your plate or in your bowl, whatever you're having, there is a source of protein that's equal to somewhere between 15 to 30 grams of protein. So at least you're getting that first thing at the start of your day. It can be Christmas ham, like I said. It can be eggs. It could be a scoop of protein over chocolate oats. There's usually a lot of leftovers lingering around in the fridge. So if there's some protein sources like some beef or some ham or some chicken, some turkey, whatever it is, if that's left over, chuck that on your plate as well. And then you can start focusing on the rest of your plate. But if protein is the first thing that you're getting, at least later on in the day, you don't have to worry about how much protein you're going to get. And like I said, it keeps you full and all that other good stuff. Number two is fiber. So fiber is what really, in addition to protein, keeps you full. And that comes from vegetables, it comes from fruit, but there are other things like fiber can come from oats, it can come from wholemeal sources, it can come from legumes and things like that. But having that as your second focus is a really good way. So is a really good way to focus on your diet. So if you're having lunch, let's say, and you chuck that Christmas ham on your plate, it's left over. Now you can look at what sort of vegetables you're going to decorate your plate with. Are there leftover salads that you can throw in? Can you chuck in some roast potatoes, some roast sweet potatoes, some pumpkin, things like that? That's going to like beef up your plate and also help fill you up. Or if you're having more of a kind of oat bowl or smoothie, things like that, then you can throw in berries. They're, I think, one of the most underrated things that you can throw in on your plate or in your smoothie. They're very high in fiber. They're very high in nutrients, so they have good nutrient density, but they're also quite low in calories. So you can really beef up a meal that you're going to eat with berries. I think that's really underrated. And while we're on the topic of fruit, I think also I'm in this rock melon phase where I'm just absolutely smashing it. I think I had half of one yesterday, around like half a kilo of rock melon. But throwing things in like that, or watermelon, kiwi, citrus fruit as well, they're really good options that are rather low in calories, but also quite high in fiber to help fill you up. So that's your second focus that I want you to focus on while you're building your plate. And then the last thing, I put in my notes, party in your mouth. You can have whatever you want after that, right? We're not here to be super strict over the holiday season. I want you to enjoy yourself because remember, this holiday season, let's say it's 1 week or even 2 weeks. If you go from Christmas to New Year's and a couple of days here and there, your physique is not determined by this 2-week period. It's determined by the other 50 weeks left of the year. So if you're like tracking your calories around Christmas time and weighing everything and just being super annoying at the table for your family, I get it. I've done that, right? I was that guy. I'm not that guy anymore because I've just got a bit of a different strategy, which I'll share later on. But I used to weigh everything. I remember it was my birthday, which is New Year's Eve. So my birthday's coming up in this time. And I was so picky and particular around my diet. I kind of forced my brother into buying me like a a high protein cheesecake or something. Like he had to make a high protein cheesecake, and I liked it, but no one else did. Like no one had the cake. It was just me and like a sad birthday. Just, you can see me just like eating on the dining table by myself. It was a pretty sad birthday. So I've come a long way personally with my relationship with food. I used to be a bit of a food Nazi around like hitting protein and just making sure I was super healthy. And you know what? I don't actually think it did my physique any justice. It was just 2 weeks of like unnecessary focus where I could have just probably chilled out and been a bit laxed. Instead, I was just stressing about my macros when no one else really cared, and I was probably just annoying. So if you don't want to be that guy, this is kind of how I want to operate. But if you're a contest prep bodybuilder, go and do your thing. Carry your food scales around, do that, whatever. This video isn't for you. So those are the 3 things. Protein number 1, fiber number 2, and then you can have a party on your mouth and do whatever you want number 3, right? You can have your donuts and all that kind of stuff. But if you focus on protein and fiber, the probability that you're going to like go and binge eat and have just like crazy food outside of like what you would normally eat is drastically lower than if you weren't filled up on protein and filled up on fiber like fruits and vegetables. If you did party in your mouth first, there's going to be no protein or fiber later on. You're just going to have crazy calories and crazy macros, which once again is fine if you want, but this video is not for you if you're going to do that. So that's the focus for the meal. But then there are 2 strategies that I want you to learn around calorie management. Okay, so the first one is daily calorie backloading. And that is quite a simple concept. You're just trying to leave as many calories for the end of the day where you're usually going to have that bigger meal. So the big desserts, the big Christmas dinner, that stuff is going to come toward the end of the day. So what you can do at the start of the day can really help open you up to the calories that you could have at nighttime. So for example, if you're going to have a breakfast, I would keep it high in protein and low in fats and carbs. I wouldn't recommend chugging a protein shake just because when you drink your calories, it doesn't really fill you up. So if you can still eat your calories, that would be really good. So one of my go-tos is low-fat Greek yogurt. If you live in Aussie or in NZ, I'm not sure if they do it over in the US or in other countries, but there's Chobani yogurt here, light blue. It's low-fat. It's high in protein, moderate carbs. And then if you just throw berries in that, you can have 360 to 500 grams with just heaps of berries in it, and that's only going to cost you around 400 calories, and that's really filling, especially if you put lots of fruit on it to fill you up. Don't throw peanut butter on it. You save those calories till later on. So I would start the day with something similar to that. You're still eating yogurt and eating lots of berries, so you're feeling a little bit full there. And then for lunch, you could have something like a protein and a salad. So that keeps your protein high, but it also keeps your carbs and fats low. And I know that might feel a bit struggle street leading up to dinner, but now you've only had, let's say, 800 calories, 1,000 calories at worst, right? For these first 2 meals, breakfast and lunch. And now for dinner, depending on your calorie intake, you now have 1,000 to 2,000 calories to have at this meal, which is a pretty big deal. Now, if you just YOLO it and just have a big breakfast, a big lunch, and then you have this dinner as well, your calories are just going to be way over way over your target. So if you do want to have a kind of manageable body weight and not gain too much fat over Christmas time, that's one strategy that I would recommend. So you just kind of, it's like that concept, like eat breakfast like a pauper and then dinner like a king type of thing. So just smaller calories just to save for later on. Now there's another strategy which is a bit more technical, which is weekly calorie backloading. So instead of just looking at it day to day, you can actually look at it week to week. So let's say you have a big Christmas Eve dinner on the 24th of December. What you can actually do is, if you have 2,000 calories, it's just easier for maths. What you can do is from the 20th up till the 23rd, so 3 days, you could take your calories down by 500 calories. So you have 1,500 on the 20th. Mate, my maths is way off. Okay, so that's 4 days. So 20th of December, you have 1,500 calories. 21st, you have the same. 22nd, 23rd, you have the same. So that's 4 days where you've gone under your calories by 500 calories. Now you have this buffer of 2,000 calories that you can throw on top of Christmas Eve dinner. So now you have 4,000 calories. Man, that is simple maths, but I struggled. Now you have 4,000 calories to have on that Christmas Eve dinner. So you can ultimately, 4,000 calories is a ton of food. So you can ultimately still daily calorie backload on Christmas Eve and save yourself this kind of big kind of safety like landing pad to land on in Christmas Eve, and know that your calories aren't going to be way over because you've kind of saved up early enough to splurge here. So splurging kind of, or like sounds like it's like a binge eating. I'm not trying to encourage you to starve yourself and then just like binge eat. It sounds like that if you want to like really simplify it, but it's, if you get technical and kind of calculate the calories that you're doing, you can just kind of eat heaps of food and kind of still be into fitness and be aware of what you're doing with your diet without carrying your food scales around, right? That's what we're trying to prevent here. So that's weekly calorie backloading, and you can do it on the other side of the day as well. So let's say you, from the 20th to the 23rd, you shaved off 500 calories. So you put that extra 2,000 calories on your normal 2,000, and Christmas Eve, you have that 4,000 calorie dinner. But let's say you just went nuts and you had 5,000 calories. So now you're over by 1,000 calories. The next 2 days after, so Christmas Day and Boxing Day, they're not the best days to try and cut your calories, but let's just say you did, right? You could take another 500 calories off the next 2 days to bring you back to that equilibrium so that you would supposedly just have that 2,000 calories per day. Like I said, it's a bit more technical. You have to think about it a lot more, but it's an option if you're like really conscious about not gaining weight throughout this Christmas period. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is the goal strategy. So I've talked about your meal strategy, your calorie management strategy, and now this is your goal strategy. So what I look at around Christmas time and New Year's Eve and holiday season in general is actually taking the calorie deficit out of the equation. So I don't want any of my clients that I'm training to be in a calorie deficit around this time. If they want to, that's fine, but that's not my recommendation. My recommendation is to come up to at least maintenance, because if you're in a calorie deficit, you're kind of setting yourself up for failure around Christmas anyway. Because like I said, friends, family, tons of food are around. You're surrounded by it. You're usually not working, so you're like potentially less active depending on what you do with your family. So if you're just at maintenance, then you're not going to have to worry too much about your calories because you're on that higher calorie amount by about 300 to 500 calories. Even better, if you can actually bulk through Christmas time, it's going to be another 600 to 1,000 calories higher than your calorie deficit. So you can have a bit more freedom around this time. So if you're in Team Brock Ashby and you're watching this, and we haven't talked about it yet, jump up to maintenance or a calorie surplus in this time, because you can always worry about cutting later on. In the new year, you can do the whole new year, new me. I'm going to be running an 8-week challenge in Built by Brock anyway, so you can come and join that. It's going to start officially on the 20th, and then on January 6th, there's going to be this kind of 2-week lead up, a challenge prep program to prepare for the challenge. But there's going to be a lot of motivation to kind of, new year, new me, hit the gym, lose weight, all that kind of stuff. And you can ride that wave. So what I prefer to do is go to maintenance or go to a calorie surplus and actually bulk up. So you can kind of not worry about it. You don't have to feel guilty. Not that you should feel guilty about eating a lot of food anyway, but some people do harbor this kind of guilt for just kind of like splurging around Christmas and New Year's time, right? I've worked in fitness for like 8 to 9 years now, and I see it time and time again. People are like, oh, I feel so bad. I really let myself go over Christmas time to get back in shape. You know what I mean? But if you go, all right, I'm going to gain a few kilos here, but it's all planned. Like, why do you have to feel bad for like sticking to a game plan? So that's why I think it's important to actually focus on changing your goals so that you don't have to unnecessarily feel terrible and then beat yourself up at the start of the year to try and get back in shape. Because the shape that you're in is what you prepared for, and then you just continue on 2025 on that trajectory of like trying to better yourself. So that's all I want to talk about today. If you liked what I said, take it into consideration so you can enjoy your Christmas and kind of not worry too much about your body and about your health and about your body fat levels. If you are unsure on what your calories should be around this Christmas time, I have a free calorie calculator that you can use. It's in the description here. And you can not just find your maintenance calories, but if you want to find your calorie deficit or your calorie surplus, you can find that out. Just hit the link and then just fill it out correctly on what goals you have. And if you want coaching throughout this time, a lot of people have more free time in this time and they actually want to get some training in. There's a link in the description around to my website as well. We've just launched a new app, Team Brock Ashby app. The Built by Brock experience is way better, and one-to-one premium coaching is as well. So those are the two options I have. Built by Brock, which is like a monthly coaching subscription. And then there is Team Brock Ashby one-to-one personalized premium coaching where I actually deal with you and your program and everything's tailored to your goals. So check that out, link in the description. I'll see you next time.